Today, Gen Z is said to be the unhealthiest generation on record. Obesity is on the rise for Gen Z, with research suggesting those from the age of 18 to 25 are 56% overweight or obese. Although substance and alcohol use is on the decline for Gen Z, it's becoming the generation of overindulgence, overconsumption. Declining mental health and easy access to food delivery apps have not helped the situation. In this video, I want to uncover the health crisis currently being experienced by Gen Z. This is a story of insanely high-calorie foods, new social trends, and overall a college system that seems to somehow taken advantage of food to lure students to their college food-rich campus. Now, over the past few years, companies like Frito-Lay, which is owned by Pepsi, have expressed their excitement and forecast towards their snack foods portfolio. They thank younger consumers like Gen Z embracing the consumption of products like Doritos, Lay's, and others. They have confirmed that Gen Z is snacking more than ever. It's not going away anytime soon. Social media trends like girl dinner have embraced the skipping of meals and eating a whole array of snacks or smaller foods in an effort not to try too hard to get fed. According to a survey though, over half of Gen Z supplements eating meals by eating snacks on a weekly basis. Now, don't get me wrong, who doesn't like snacks? I love Doritos, but I also know it's very easy to eat an entire bag just like that. They are so good, yet they're so terrible for your body. Doritos are incredibly ultra processed and contain a whole catalog of bad ingredients. You can probably watch a bunch of TikToks or do a Google search on it. These ingredients are hard for your body to process and they can lead to weight gain or other health issues. According to a study done by BMI, ultra processed foods high in fats and carbohydrates can be addictive, similar to addictive substances. The research indicates that these foods are highly rewarding, they're appealing, and they're consumed compulsively, potentially meeting the criteria for substance abuse disorders in some individuals. For a generation like Gen Z that is snacking more than ever, this is bad news. The snacking trend is likely leading to an increase of obesity and diabetes among Gen Z. Another main issue here is that Gen Z, even though they're eating all these snacks, they might not be getting the right amount of healthy ingredients for their bodies. Many snacks, particularly processed ones, over-processed ones, they often lack essential nutrients like fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals, you name it. They basically are empty calories with little to no nutritional value. A study done out of the UK found that 42% of individuals in their 20s have a vitamin D deficiency, compared to just 21% to those in their 60s and 12% of those in their 70s or above. The young Gen Zers surveyed in this also had a B12 deficiency. All most people have to do to get their vitamin D and their B12 is eat foods like eggs, fish, spinach, red meat. But that's the thing. Gen Z is constantly eating empty calories. Then they're putting their bodies at risk, as we've seen. Why did Gen Z become such big snackers and, well, not normal meal eaters? Well, I think a lot of it goes back to our culture. I remember when I was in high school and middle school, and many students really didn't eat a balanced diet. Like if a kid was getting a full array of food and veggies and meat from the cafeteria line, a lot of times they were seen like lame or sheltered. It was such a weird dynamic. I remember many of these so-called popular kids would get these packs of cheese sticks called Bosco sticks. They were basically these giant mozzarella stick things with bread around them. And then they would top it off with a Gatorade and a bag of Doritos. That would run them probably around $7 instead of getting a normal cafeteria tray lunch, which was like $4. Kids would just kind of eat these snack foods instead of a real meal. It kind of continued in high school too. Then everyone kind of grew up a little bit and then people went to college. And to me, this is where the health crisis has taken a turn for the worse in regards to Gen Z. When you go to college and you live on campus, you're usually forced to pay a few $1,000s for a meal plan, which is basically a ticket to a buffet style meal anytime you're hungry. Many colleges focus on their dining experience as a way to lure students into their university. As I've been out of college for a few years now, I can't help to think that, like, damn, that was really insanely unhealthy. Like, pretty much the entire array of food in college. Cafeteria lines were stacked with foods like mac and cheese, fried chicken, and pizza on the daily basis. They were even served for all 3 meals of the day. Imagine eating at a Golden Corral every meal every day. That's basically what it was like going to college. This is what college life has become. In many cases, the freshman 15 can now turn into the freshman 30. It becomes so incredibly easy for students to overeat when they're given the Golden Corral ticket in their dorm room lobby. I remember most students were going for the pizza and the fried chicken options. I mean, that stuff is good, but eating it every day or multiple times a day, probably not the best idea. Okay, but this is just based off my personal experience. So I did some research to make sure I wasn't sounding too much like a angry boomer. And unfortunately, I was right. A study done out of South Dakota State University concluded that food in college dining halls are not conducive to healthy eating. The study assessed the healthiness of entrees in a university dining facility. They found that 88% of available entree items were classified as unhealthy, leaving only 12% as the healthy options. This imbalance has suggested that students were frequently exposed to calorie-dense, nutrient-poor foods, which can adversely affect their health, as we know. The study also identified that college is an environment of constant change and stress. Yes, that's exactly right. When you're going to college, you're going through so much stress, you're going through so many changes, your classes, and honestly just finding who you are as a person. Then you add in college parties or bar crawls with lots of White Claws or High Noons or whatever they're drinking nowadays, and you have a lot of weight gain knocking at your door. Simply put, having a Golden Corral while you're stress eating probably isn't the best scenario. Okay, so once college students grow up from the dorm life, do they grow healthier eating habits? Well, in a lot of times nowadays, probably no, because you can get that Golden Corral shipped to you at your door. Like we've said, Gen Z is a generation of overconsumption. Approximately 63% of Gen Z regularly uses food delivery apps, a higher percentage than that of 51% observed by millennials. So Gen Z is getting everything they want delivered to their door. Meals ordered through these platforms tend to be more energy dense and less nutritious. That's a fact. The average calories in these meals can be anywhere from 1,125 to 1,820 calories. This is way higher than the recommended 600 calories per meal for an adult. Gen Z is picking up burgers, fries, pizza, chicken tenders. And look, all that sounds really good. It's making me hungry just thinking about it. But the fact that we can get this on demand without moving a muscle is kind of crazy nowadays. Take this for example. If someone orders a Cane's box combo, this is what's in store for them. Almost 1,500 calories in one meal. That's insane. That's basically the entire calorie count someone should have in one day, and they're getting it from one meal. Especially if they're working remote or in the office, you're not really gonna burn too much calories in the day. This is just wild, you know? Cane's popularity among Gen Z has exploded. It is now one of the most popular food chains in the country. Look, I love Cane's. Most of the time it's pretty good. But eating Cane's on a weekly basis is wild. Add in other popular Gen Z brands like Crumble cookies. They have made huge inroads with Gen Z, having special cookies sponsored by people like Olivia Rodrigo, among others. But these cookies are insanely unhealthy. The sugar in those would knock you out and put you in a food coma for a whole day. Doctors are apparently raising alarms too in regards to Crumble cookies. Crumble released a new flavor late in 2024, which contained around 1,130 calories, which is 4.5 times more than Krispy Kreme donuts. Crumble cookies, with all their colorful and fun brand aesthetic, has lured many Gen Zers to post them eating the cookies on TikTok, encouraging others to buy huge boxes of these cookies. And again, Crumble cookies is pretty darn good, but promoting it to Gen Z while every other unhealthy food company in the country is already promoting to Gen Z at the same time kind of irks me the wrong way. It's kind of a bad feeling, right? Crumbl loves marketing cookies with over 1,000 calories. Like, sure, it's a free market or whatever, but isn't this kind of like a predatory practice? Maybe. There's a reason why Crumbl cookies has not expanded to Europe. And well, that's pretty much because the entire menu would probably be banned in Europe. Unlike the United States, Europe puts limits on sugars and calories for many of their food products. They also require strict labels on unhealthy foods, like these super sugar cookies from Crumbl. Plus, I'm pretty sure many of my European viewers out there would probably throw up at the thought of having these crazy 1,400 calorie Crumbl cookies. Gen Z is also obsessed with sugary beverages. I'm not talking about our parents or grandparents' regular Coca-Cola. I'm talking about this monstrosity. Yes, Dutch Bros is another new fast food brand glorified by Gen Z, and it's a way worse offender than that of Starbucks, when it comes to sugar, at least. These drinks often contain over 100 grams of sugar. Another brand marketing towards Gen Z with colorful drinks in a trendy atmosphere. They even cost more than Starbucks, but Gen Z can't get enough of this stuff. So yeah, my point here is that we're seeing the rise of many unhealthy food brands that Gen Z is supporting. Although Gen Z is supporting these companies' bottom line in a positive way, they're not supporting Gen Z's health or well-being in a positive way. But this begs the question, why can't Gen Z just cook their own meals? Well, apparently, Gen Z sucks at cooking. According to a survey done by a popular dating app, they nearly found that 64% of Gen Z respondents said they prefer dining out because, well, they can't cook. A little under half of those Gen Z respondents said that cooking was, well, stressful and anxiety-inducing. And this is often the reason why they preferred takeout meals and restaurant meals. Even simple meals seem to be a struggle for many. Around 42% said they could not even cook a stir fry, with 27% said that they struggled making a soup. Many studies have come out showing that young people, especially Gen Z, aren't as skilled in the kitchen as older generations were at the same age. A survey done by the National Restaurant Association in 2020, they revealed that around 60% of Gen Z prefer to eat out or order their food to their door. Cooking isn't seen as a priority for them, and they tend to lack the culinary knowledge that older generations had at their same age. And more findings here. A 2019 survey done found that only 37% of Gen Z could confidently prepare a full meal, compared to 46% of millennials and 58% of Gen Xers at their same age. Gen Z is more likely to rely on microwaves, meals, snacks, or frozen foods, which are a lot quicker and they require way less effort than cooking from scratch. But I think many factors are at play here for the fact that Gen Z isn't cooking as often. I think in large part, cooking takes so much time and preparation. It's so much easier to pay a little bit extra to have the food delivered to your door. I think another major factor that really isn't talked about too much is the fact that groceries are super expensive and likely will only get more expensive. Getting groceries and healthy foods is a costly process, and it's getting more and more pricey every other month, it seems. So ordering food really isn't that much more expensive sometimes for Gen Z. Gen Z is a very price-cautious generation, and buying groceries hasn't really been the most cost-effective move recently. But by not cooking, Gen Z is subject to unhealthy foods and a larger portion size from fast foods or dining options. I kind of worry for my generation of Gen Z and these enormous health challenges that are probably going to be heading our way in the near future as we get older. And the thing is that older generations did not have access to these 1,000 calorie cookies or beverages. And the thing is that older generations did not have access to 1,000 calorie cookies or drinks. They didn't have the capability of getting it delivered whenever they want just from their phone. And the last point I want to make here about Gen Z being unhealthier compared to other generations is simply the amount of distance Gen Z has to drive as a result of housing being so expensive. Gen Z is having to live further away from work and their offices, which are likely downtown. This has resulted in many Gen Zers being trapped in suburbia without even really wanting to. It means that most of Gen Z is having to spend more and more time in their car driving to work, which, as we know, can have many negative health effects in the long term. A 2022 survey by the US Census Bureau revealed that the average commute for younger adults around age 18 to 34 has actually risen to nearly 30 minutes one way, compared to just 20 minutes in the 1990s. In addition to longer commutes, the work culture that many Gen Zers find themselves in also contributes to a lack of physical activity. We know that many Gen Zers are working from home or they're working in office environments. Those environments are not really designed to promote movement. A typical desk job involves long hours of sitting in front of a screen, and it can definitely lead to lack of opportunities for physical exercise throughout the day. So in essence, Gen Z is not moving as much as previous generations. Now, this has been a known fact over the past few years. The pandemic really didn't help this cause either, where people were stuck at home for months or even several years. And if Gen Z is having to be trapped in suburbia, as we know, it doesn't have good walking infrastructure, then they're really not going to get that many steps in the day, in essence. The lack of walkable zones or cycling zones has been a constant struggle for so many Americans, and unfortunately, it's hurting Gen Z the most here. So where does this leave us? Well, I think it's unfortunately going to contribute to the overall health crisis in the country. On top of that, meals that don't really have a lot of nutritional value, but are just so appealing to Gen Z. I think in the long run, this is going to create a lot of problems in the future. Gen Z is still pretty healthy right now, but what happens 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years from now? Eventually, your body's going to pay the tax. But I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think of these high-calorie foods like crumble or canes? Is it something that you enjoy eating, or you kind of think it's a bad thing for society in the long run? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out, and it shines a spotlight on issues like this. And like always, we'll be back with another video. Stay informed out there.